All right, I've seen that you've been nicknamed the nomadic gardener because
Nomadic farmer.
Oh, okay, farmer.
Yep.
Sorry, I misquoted. The nomadic farmer, because you spend your summer in Maine. So
Yep.
tell me about your place in Maine.
Well, it's not really my place. It's a couple places now. I'm borrowing people's land, just kind of sharecropping on it. I've been doing it at one place for to be 11 years now. They just camp out on the ocean and use their land, and so the land benefits as for the owner. She gets produce, and then I get produce to take to market up there, and then I get a lot of produce to to get harvested and get back down here in October, November. So then you guys get garlic, winter's cross, apples, all that stuff.
All right, you led into my next question. What is some of the food that you can grow in Maine that you can't grow in Florida?
Well, almost anything you can grow in Florida, but it doesn't thrive like it does in Maine. Apples and tomatoes even. Tomatoes I can grow so much better in Maine than I can here, but
Yeah.
that's kind of because of my cycle. I'm out of the time when the best time is to grow them. I'm either getting ready to leave or just getting here. So tomatoes aren't a good one here, but winter squash does unbelievable up there. Garlic does unbelievable. Potatoes yield like 5 times as much. Trying to think. Onions do much better.
Does it have to do with the cold?
I think, yeah, cold and then longer day lengths. Because in the winter here, we're only getting sometimes 10 hours of sunlight, and I'm trying to grow similar crops, but up there, in the same time frame in June, there might be, 15, 16 hours of daylight.
Wow.
So that's a lot longer for the photosynthesis to go on.
I never would have thought of that.
And it even changes here between, December and now, because now it was, 6:30, it was getting light, and so now there's more day length, so the carrots that used to take 100 days to mature will do it in 70 here, in this time of year. But everything else kind of speeds up too, so lettuce will bolt quicker because it goes through a life cycle quicker.
Yeah.
At least that's what I found. I don't know the science behind it.
Okay. So the bolting of any plant, or especially the lettuce, is that directly related to the life cycle of the plant, or is it also related to the heat?
It's related to the plant's trying to produce, babies, and it wants to produce a lot of babies, right? And if it's got soil and knows it can produce a lot of babies, then it goes ahead and just keeps growing and storing up energy, and then it goes to full flower, and that's why you have those, 4-pound broccoli, because they're on good soil, they can do it. But you put a broccoli in some really poor ground, it'll say, oh, I can't produce hardly any seeds, but I better get ready and do some. And so then it'll start earlier.
Okay.
And then, that's how it goes.
Yeah. All right, and how about produce that you can grow in Florida and not in Maine? That might be obvious because it's tropical.
Well, yeah, I used to bring citrus home, and that was something that was there, but, we lost all the citrus to the greening, so I really don't take much. I start onions here because, like this time of the year in Maine, people have got a greenhouse going and they start onion seeds, and that's what the soil blocks I did yesterday are. But see, I've got a natural greenhouse here in Florida, so I start them here, plant them in the ground, and then pull them up May 1st when I head north, plant them up there, and they're probably 5 times as big as the ones they'll be having up there from the greenhouse.
Wow, that is cool.
Yeah, and one year it worked so good. I had 3-pound onions.
And so what size are they when you bring them up?
Size of a small scallion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. And in your opinion, what's the easiest food that you grow here in Florida, and then the easiest in Maine?
Arugula by far.
For Florida?
For Florida, definitely.
Okay.
It's because it doesn't get flea beetles. I can't grow it at all in Maine because the flea beetles just tear it up. And then I would say for Maine, garlic, I can't grow it all here. As far as head garlic, I'd say that's one of the easier ones. And then winter squash, hands down. One year I planted 300 seeds in the ground and got 8,000 pounds of food.
Okay, and you planted that once you were already there? You didn't start it here?
Nope, I don't start anything here except the onions.
Okay.
I do a work trade with somebody up there. I mow for them. They've got an organic farm and they start seedlings, so I trade with them my labor for seedlings that are already started. So when I arrive, there's already seedlings growing for me, which has been really wonderful. So people always wonder, well, you just got here. How can you be already in the ground? And I go, well, I got friends.
All right, you mentioned the mowing in Maine.
Yep.
Do you want to describe how you do the
Well,
mowing?
I use a scythe. It's an old tool that they used to harvest hay with, and even late as the probably 50s, people were mowing their lawns with it. And there's a company up there, Scythe Supply, and that's what the hat says. And they're one of two companies in America that import the blades from Austria that make it so it's a light, really efficient tool for harvesting grass. And so I use the grass up there that I harvest. I mow up to 7 acres up there during the summer 3 times to get 3 cuts. And then I use that like I do the Newport Richie mulch here. So that's my fertility stream. And I just keep piling that on in a permaculture way too, just keep putting that on top. And I've been able to build really good fertility there with no other fertilizers.
And so what are the main, I guess, nutrients that are in grass that help to help the soil?
Well, more so, you know, I'm not a scientist, but you got to think about it as that you're feeding livestock. Okay, so you got this soil that's full of livestock, right? There's bugs, there's bacteria, there's so many things you don't even know. There's millions and millions of different things. And I am feeding them something that's fresh. Imagine what the cow does with that. It produces wonderful milk. The horse produces energy. I mean, all that stuff. So now I'm just feeding this micro herd, I call it, in the soil. And then their excrement and poop, essentially, and their life cycle, living and dying so quickly, that's what gives the fertility in the soil. And the same thing happens here with the Newport Richie compost.
Okay.
I'm really feeding, so everybody worries about, you know, the constituency of whatever you're feeding things, but I think, you know, nature knows how to turn all that into good soil.
Yeah, yep, I agree. All right, and that also goes with my next question about soil amendments. Do you do anything else besides the Newport Richie mulch?
Well, when I do the soil blocks, I add, you know, minute amounts of different things, rock powders mostly, azomite, soft rock phosphate, some blood meal, and some green sand. So they're all, you know, naturally occurring elements that, you know, add. So that's the only thing. So every time I put a soil block in the ground, I'm putting like a pinch of something in the ground too.
Okay.
But the plants are using that, and yeah, so it gives you really good, healthy starts.
Yeah, I know back in the past, you used to go grab seaweed.
I did.
The Gulf.
I found, you know, that actually became, I've realized, and somebody should do the science on this, that it actually has a detrimental effect on seed starting.
Okay.
I don't know what if it is. I don't think it's a salt. I think there's some kind of a thing, and it doesn't break down.
Okay.
It's amazing. I got stuff in a compost pile that's got to be at least 4 years old, and it still hasn't broken down.
And seaweed is one of the ingredients in that?
Well, I just had thrown seaweed in there, yeah,
Okay.
you know, because I thought it was a good idea, and it is. But, you know, so now you've got a naturally occurring local element that you can put on the ground that doesn't disappear and discourage seeds. So you don't want to discourage your seeds, but it might discourage weed seeds.
Oh, yeah.
And it might also stay a lot longer than most of the things that break down too fast. But again, I'd like to feed the soil. So, I mean, if it's not breaking down, then the soil life isn't eating it.
Okay. So you shy away from the seaweed now?
Lately, yeah. Who knows? I might circle around. You never know.
And tell me about your compost. Well, I guess we'll be able to see it later, right?
Well, I don't do much compost because the city does it all for me.
Okay.
You know, I'm being able to get hundreds of yards of compost, you know, yearly. So I'm letting them do that. So I pile my yard waste out back like all my neighbors do. And so the city comes and picks it up. They take it to a central location when they get a big enough pile, which is huge. It's like, you know, probably maybe an acre of, you know, brush piled up 10 feet tall. Then they grind it, and then they stockpile it there, and it composts. It gets so hot that it kills all the weed seeds, all the pathogens, and then they'll deliver it back to us. Okay. So that's my big compost pile.
Okay.
I mean, I'll do a little one. Yeah, it's community, and yeah. So you know, I'm growing food that's feeding my neighbors using their yard waste, which is a really tight circle.